Hi, everyone, and welcome to our second week in review. My name is Elena. I'm joined today by a lot of people, many of whom you already know. But here are our designers, Leo Almeida and Michael Shinall, and producers, Guilherme Goulart and Kenneth. How are you all?
I'm good. I'm excited. I recognize Fisto in the crowd. Yeah, good to be here.
How are you, Michael?
I'm doing all right.
Excited?
Alina, how are you?
I'm fine. Excited about yesterday's Daily Secret reveal, I see.
Yes, I have my Kung Fu grip and my action thumb all ready to go.
How are you, Guilherme?
I'm doing fine. I'm glad to see that the level of putting yourselves into the characters is increasing. That's exciting. I only have this for today, but I'll be undergoing a transformation for the next live as well.
Really excited. How are you, Kenneth?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I've got a lot of things to show people today.
Yes. Yeah, we do. So this week in review will work a little bit different than last time. We'll have two separate blocks. We'll have the designers in blocks talking about gameplay and the producers in blocks talking about the miniatures and the campaign and the artwork. So I will be teleporting some of you off stream at various times.
Oracle powers are too strong.
Yes, exactly. The transformation is finally happening. My powers are out of control.
All right, so you just get to keep here for the first block the two people you like the most.
Oh,
Wait, does that include me, or am I picking two people too?
And then suddenly it's just the Helena show.
okay.
Exactly. Let's see. We still have to wait a few minutes more for people to join in. So what should we talk about for this 2 minutes we have? Oh, something we forgot to mention. We talked about Oracle, we talked about Fisto, but we didn't talk about Leo's transformation into Beastman.
Yes.
Which you can see very clearly.
Clearly.
Yes.
My shirt is a clear distinction from Leo to Beastman. Of course.
And you didn't cut your nails, right? So
Yeah. I'm willing not to show that, to not get to the gore part on stream, but yes, you can be sure that I made every possible effort to.
That's dedication.
Yeah, I didn't shave.
Next week he's going to file his teeth down into fangs.
Yeah. It's a transformation, you know. Wednesday will be at our finest, so. Yeah.
And Kenneth, we have a surprise for you. We've ordered in a robotic heart, so guess who gets to be a cyborg?
Great.
Oh my God.
I'll get right on that.
Well, shall we begin? Shall we begin with some miniatures we revealed this week?
Yeah, let's take a look at some that from last time to this week. There were a few that we didn't show from the first week. There was a lot to cover. I guess we can start there, yeah.
Hold up.
See you soon, Leo and Michael. Hello there.
Yep, moving out.
Aha, there we go.
Ooh. So what are we looking at here?
So we're looking at, on the left of the screen, we can see the Prince Adam sculpt, which is a daily secret reveal that we did for an NPC. He's part of the core box. And also Queen Marlena on the right. Same, so it was also a daily reveal. We didn't get to show them, didn't have enough time last week. So we just wanted to show you guys some of this. Kenneth, could you please rotate them a little bit so we can see a bit of the sides?
Sure. Actually, let's have the royal family here.
There you go.
There we go. Let's turn her around. The backs. King Rendor as well.
Where is Cringer? I see a comment asking for.
He's in the core box as an NPC.
Yep.
True.
Um,
Okay, right.
Can we see his King Rendor's glorious cape?
Yes.
Ooh,
Very cool.
that is a very handsome royal family. Really cool.
All right.
And you also
Oh.
had there for a little while. You had the objective, right? If you can keep maybe Prince Adam there just for scale.
Sure. And then let's bring back the objective token.
There you go. So we went a little bit back and forth on that objective token because, of course, we wanted something very cool to elevate the experience so you can clearly see them on the table. It was also one of the early conversations with design team because if they're there, just like any other 3D tokens, that means players cannot occupy the same hex. So it's always there's always a combination, right, where production and development have to meet into a good result. And the sword itself, as you can see, is a little bigger than what is on He-Man's hand because we needed to make sure that we built something that on plastic will hold out well. It won't be too fragile. It will be easy to grip on, and still look within scale. Of course, this is you can see there Adam, He-Man, which are completely not the same person, and the Sword of Power in the center.
Here you can see both of them at the same time. Doesn't that confirm it?
That only happens on Residence and on board game. Don't worry.
Right. Yep.
And that's Faker, which is
we skipped Faker last week.
We did. He's part, so he's not a stretch goal or a daily. He's part of every pledge. Just by backing on the Kickstarter, you already get Faker, who's a robotic creation of Skeletor. Totally not He-Man either. It's interesting, right? The original toy line was basically the mold, the torso from He-Man, and he has the upper armor from Skeletor, like on the around it. So I think it's just a very, very cool character. He used to be also blue, right, on the toy. So I think it's a very cool sort of very initial reward that we didn't get to show them him last time. And there's a few more, I think, dailies that we can also show that we didn't show last time.
Dailies.
Ooh.
Terror Claws, Skeletor.
There's another daily here.
And
That's
Bounty
good.
Hunter, Trapjaw. Yeah.
The Terror Claw Skeletor is really an impressive figure. Like that has a presence.
Yeah, he's very cool. So on the original toy line, basically his fingers would hold the claws, right? So it was not exactly integrated, and we worked with Mattel on this one to make sure that on the board game, on the fantasy, where we don't have that limitation for him to hold the toy, they're meshed into one. So it's like the claws are just attached to him.
I see a comment here asking to see both Trapjaws together. Do we have the first one still?
Yes, we do. Give me a minute. Trapjaw. Let me move him away, and then we have Trapjaw and
Hello.
Trapjaw. Yes. Is that okay?
Really cool, yeah. Yeah, it's cool because the toy you used to be able to swap the attachments on his arm.
Yep.
And while we can't do that with the miniatures, you get to have various versions. So that was the thought process over choosing that on the production side.
So Trapjaws is unique in that sense, as you said. Like one of the most remarkable things was the ability to modify his gears, and we wanted to deliver on that expectation. We wanted to make sure that his different kits and his different outfits would allow us to build interesting gameplay. It's one of the things that we wanted from the get-go, to have at least more than one kit for him, to be sure that people can play into that thing that you should do with the toys, right? So to have that translated into the board game.
Yeah, but you can tell from the original Trapjaw, his hook is on his left thigh, and then for the Bounty Hunter Trapjaw, his laser attachment is on his thigh instead. So it's a swap out.
A nice touch.
And then we also have a few stretch goals that we revealed from last time to this time.
Yep.
Let's see.
Yeah.
What would you like to see now? We have one of my
Ooh.
more preferred models. We have Blast Attack. Oh, and we have Roboto. Did we see Roboto the last time?
We did not. He was unlocked in the time in between. So Skeletor, Scareglow was one that also was tricky in order to produce into a figure because of the carved in ribs, right? So the toy was painted over to suggest the rib cage on the toy, but there was no real depth. And we again here another example where we wanted to make sure that the fantasy of the character, right, is conveyed. I don't know if you can show that a little bit more, maybe Kenneth, but like you can actually see that we wanted to make the details, the bones and the rib cage kind of stand out. So should be fun to paint and also to kind of deliver more into the expectation for the character.
And another really cool cape here.
Another
A lot
really
of
cool cape.
movement.
Yep, we usually or we often use posable models in order to come up with our. Of course, sometimes we take photos of ourselves. Sometimes we use posable toys to come up with poses, and it was no exception with this line. And Kenneth was the one responsible for Scareglow. I remember that we were working on the sketch on the art, and we were starting to sculpt. And Kenneth was working on trying to, the idea was to have this feeling of weight with his lance, with his halberd, and we wanted to make him lean into it and yet have the flowing cape behind. So it's one of the ones where we spent a good amount of time just trying to get that pose right to make him feel menacing and scary.
Yeah, it's one of the more embarrassing parts of my day. I'm sure somewhere on the internet there's a picture of me on a cardboard box with a roll of paper. That was me, Skeletor on Panther. I didn't have an actual Panther though. Yeah.
Kenneth, I'm so glad that you're the one to talk about this because I hadn't.
I'm asking for a friend. Do these pictures still exist? Because at first I thought you were going to say you did the pose for Scareglow and photographed it, and I was like, oh, this is this is not embarrassing. It's a normal pose, but nope.
Yep. No.
That's way better.
Yeah.
And just quickly there in Roboto, before we move on, was another one that we had to decide how to tackle because he, on the toy, has a transparent torso, so you can see the cogs inside, which we don't have the benefit of. So we wanted to make sure that, if there was just a plain geometric shape, it would not look as striking for the figure. And that's why we decided to have that entrance where we're carving in geometrically into the torso and then sculpting the cogs and wheels out so that, even if you're not 100% familiar with the character, you still get what's cool about him. You can still see, the internal parts in the figure. It's a figure that I'm very happy with. I saw that a lot of people were excited about you. It's always very rewarding to see people feel that the miniature is doing justice to what they remember.
Yep.
Yeah, true. Another cool touch.
What else you got there for us, Kenneth? Maybe the cats?
Oh, yes. I'm gonna have to zoom out for this. All right, so let's get in the two cats. Ta-da-da-da.
Really cool. Yes. So I see, and you can tell me if I'm imagining this, but we have a little bit of a swap from the mounted minis. In the mounted minis, like Battle Cat is jumping forward, and Panther is like staying. How do you say that? Like holding his ground and growling. And here we have an inversion of that. So Panther is in this action pose.
So we have Battle Cat. The weight shifted differently, and I think this one, the Battle Cat by himself, he's standing on top of a rock. And then for Panther, it's different from his prowling. He's jumping up and attacking. And it's also very fun.
Yeah, you got it right. Essentially, we were looking for iconic, interesting poses for them, from packaging art to posters made at the time, to even trying to to real life big cats, to make sure that we nailed very interesting, iconic poses and silhouettes for the miniatures. Mattel was the one who suggested the striking Panther, without Skeletor. They said, you guys, if you want to consider this one, I sent a piece of art which is part of the packaging art for him. So when we nailed that, like the very claws forward, ready to strike Panther, we knew we wanted to do something completely different vibe for Skeletor. So it's always like a sort of a house of cards, right? We're looking at all the line and trying to come up with interesting, always visually interesting poses, and then that's why. So we made the Battle Cat on the core box is just landing from a jump, right? Very, very much into action. And Panther is the prowling sort of stalker, big cat pose. And then conversely, Battle Cat by himself is a lot more on a very kind of powerful, majestic pose. He's on top of a cliff there with a paw on the rock and kind of roaring mightily. So that's why we wanted to do kind of play the opposites there and definitely cover interesting looks for them.
Yeah, really cool. Did we skip anything? Is anything missing?
We have these final 3 left, which is Whiplash,
Ooh.
Fisto, and the exclusive Cowl.
The Know-It-Owl.
Hello there.
So just as a reminder, the Know-It-Owl, yeah. So Cow is the Kickstarter exclusive reward for buying She-Ra and the Great Rebellion during the campaign. We have Fistor there, or should I say Michael, in the middle, which was yesterday's daily review. And Whiplash, which was a stretch goal. Can you rotate them a little bit, please, Kenneth?
Highly requested from the get-go, from what I saw.
Yes.
Hello there.
Yeah, Kao was also very cool to work with because he essentially hovers, right? He can sort of fly, and he's in the show he's usually hovering around characters to be sort of in a position to be able to speak in and interacting with them. And we wanted to make sure that he was not just there on the ground, and he would look kind of small and tiny on the plastic piece. So we worked early on with adding a little bit of more scenery there. So that's like a large tree log for him, so that he can stand there, and that sort of ended up playing into the whole figure. Right? It's we're sketching with it, and we're sculpting with that also to consider now how the overall silhouette and figure looks on the table.
I remember going back 2 or 3 times with Fisto, just going, his fist needs to be bigger. Bigger.
There is a balancing thing to keep in mind, though, right? It can't be so big that it
stretches believability, right?
Yeah. So around, we kept it around the same size as his head. So his entire fist is about the size of his head. And that's as big as we can go.
And I really like that powerful pose where he's just like into it, right? If you rotate that into the camera, you can really see like the hand is really pushing into us, all the others sort of preparing. The sword is back there, which is a cool detail that the toy had, but it's also the one that we feel is very recognizable. The head sort of leaning into it, almost like a pugilism, like a boxing stance, right? Very cool.
Yep.
I think that covers it for the week. Should I bring back the designers? We have a few cards to cover as well.
Let's
Is there anything I'm missing? Comment section, I trust you. Did we skip anyone? Tell me now. No comments. I gather we covered everyone. So let's bring back Michael and Leo to talk about gameplay. See you both soon. Hello.
Hey. We
Welcome
certainly
back.
have good miniatures, right?
Yes. But let's discuss a little bit of gameplay. Last week, we went in depth with the cards of Mechanic, right? And this week, we will be covering a character you guys picked because you thought it was particularly interesting. So shall we dive directly into it?
Let's go.
Okay. So what do you have to tell us about Roboto?
Well, Roboto was actually, I think, my favorite design. We changed him a lot from the original thing. I remember when I sent to Michael, I sent a gruesome character which didn't roll any dice. It wasn't a boost. Like every single attack of his, he had a passive, which any of his abilities wouldn't use dice because he's like a robot, so he cannot miss, right? He just simply can. He knows. He like in He-Man, he always was the calculating computer, which never he never did a mistake really. So
Doesn't
I
rely
sent
on
it.
luck.
Yeah, so I sent it to Michael, and Michael goes like, "I like this," and then he sends me something much better, which is much closer to this design, which we're showing here, which still has that identity, right? Robotic intelligence, but it's something that we try to portray more in his skills, like his other aspects, which is it's the reason why is one of my favorite characters. I really like dice rolling, and He-Man is, I think, one of the perfect games to have that in combat. But I think if there was to be a character that could manipulate the dice odds or be more sure of things, definitely be robotic intelligence. Yeah.
What changed, Michael? What did you send Leo?
I just realized this entire time my microphone has been off.
Oh.
So that probably doesn't help this conversation. So I guess I will start back from what I was initially saying there. Yeah, so Roboto here is one of my favorite characters. I like robots a lot. Leo is the one that handled the primary design for him, and it did a great job because it panicked me the very first time he sent me the first version of him, because you see that robotic intelligence ability, and it was just oh yeah, this character doesn't roll dice, he just auto hits, and automatics make me very nervous, and I was this ugh. But it's but I kind of like it, and it grew on me. And just reading over the other effects and abilities that he has, which we'll get into, yeah, they were really cool. And I was okay, I changed my mind. This guy made me nervous when I first saw him, but I think that's the hallmark of a good character, is when you initially look at them and go holy crap, this guy is amazing. And then you play it and okay, yeah, he's good. But there are negatives to robotic intelligence there, in the fact that yes, you deal automatic successes, but you don't have any chances of generating power. So that engine runs out really quickly because you're not, you don't have that aspect of things. So it balances itself out, but it's still a really cool thing. And you also have that subset of player that's man, dice rolls always, mess me up in these type of games. Well, here's a character for you that,
That's me.
Oh, I see what
myself.
you did there. You made a character for yourself.
Exactly.
But this is an example of just some of the dynamic, unique characters that we can have that are based, that still fit with the how the character actually is represented in the source material and everything, but still has really unique gameplay elements about them. So this is one of the reasons we chose Roboto here, is because I think he is one of just our general top favorites as far as just design and cool stuff goes.
Yeah. So the previous streams that somebody asked who was my favorite character in the game, it was Roboto all along. Definitely.
It was Roboto all along.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at his abilities.
Yes, let's go. Okay, so with this, as some characters, wait, actually. So this type of skill, we have when you unlock a new skill, you have to choose which side you're going to pick to play with it. With Modular Axe and Modular Claw, alongside some other characters we might have with that mechanic, we have the option of flipping it over. So depending on which side it is, it may have different effects for each situation in the game. So for example, with Modular Axe, the target cannot use defense boosts, and you can convert the Castle Grayskull to 2 successes, which doesn't come well with robotic intelligence, but increases the option of you high rolling, right? If you're trying to not use the boost because it costs 2 and you're already rolling 3, you would rather try to get a maximum value with converting to successes, while Modular Claw would be an attack which combos really well with robotic intelligence. So Roboto tries to, in this green skill, he tries to have both be offensive skills, but that fit in different categories when he's trying to play the game based on his initial ability, which is robotic intelligence.
Yeah, I like the dynamics of starting off with Roboto here, because he has means of bypassing all defenses here, because you can start with like a modular claw, make them dazed so they don't get their armor. Then you can switch over to modular axe so they can't use their defense boost, and you have the potential to deal a lot of damage. Or you can just start shooting them with your gun to get some automatic hits in there. But basically, like this first tier, because you don't have to choose, you have just this ability to just bypass any type of defense here. Again, representing that kind of robotic accuracy and intelligence there. I also, unrelated, realized a small issue is that if I've got to scratch my eye, it's almost impossible with a giant, not tinfoil fist covering your hand.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a fun 30 minutes left.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. You can
I
scratch
have no
yourself with
suggestions.
tinfoil. Yes.
That's not as good.
Okay.
I see a question in the comments before we move forward that might be good to address. Can you use both sides in a single turn if you have enough power to do so?
Well, if you're adjacent to the character, yes, you can.
Yep.
You just flip.
One power to
attack
make
with
the
modular
attack.
claw. Yeah.
Yep.
You need 3 power, right? One to make the attack, the other one to flip, and the other one to make the second attack. So, but yeah.
Which, noting that during that first attack, you could generate some additional power to allow you to flip and use that as well. So.
Also.
Okay. Let's go to level 2, level yellow.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes. Oh my god, I love this so much. I love him. Okay, so remember robotic intelligence? Yeah, with robotic strength, that can be nasty. So robotic durability is also, like, both of his sides are just enhancements that he can do on himself. So in most characters, they have a lot of abilities that they will unlock throughout the game that are skills that he can use. Roboto, as the game goes on, since he's a robot, he gets better, he just gets better gear. So with robotic strength, you get to make stronger attacks, and robotic durability, you can have better defense, which both are really good into his. I think he's one of the characters that is the most clean one of what he's done. So he's not that. He will never leave you hanging. That's basically it, because he doesn't rely on luck, and he has the whole package. He has like range attacks, melee attacks, and he can defend himself with robotic durability and have access to all of those skills because you can flip the skills over.
The trade-off for this, though, is that Roboto does eat up a lot of power when he is doing stuff to feed to the controller, and he has basically no abilities that are going to assist his teammates or anything. He is very kind of selfish in that regard. So whereas other characters might bring utility or some effects that can help out other guys, like even He-Man has, his throw ability, so he can start setting up positional plays for other characters. Roboto here just goes and makes stuff dead and can keep himself alive pretty well. But that's pretty much the limit of it. Like, he's not a big team player. He's just very much like an individually powerful piece, but again, also feeding a bunch of power to the controller.
Yeah, and as Michael mentioned before, if he uses robotic intelligence with robotic strength to make a 6 success attack, he won't generate any power, which then would be really hard for him to keep his engine rolling, because he probably has to start up for a bunch of turns and then use it all up and get some time to get his power back on to either defend himself or make other good attacks.
Okay. I see a couple of questions here. Let's take one really quickly. No, not that one. That one. Is robotic defense like an interrupt during the other player's attack? If someone attacks you, can you spend the power to flip to robotic durability and still use it?
No, bonus actions can be used during your turn, and defense boosts are used when you are attacked. So you're going to have to, your opponent's going to know you have robotic durability active, or you're going to have it face up, in order to use the benefits of it.
Yeah, so you just can use a bonus action, but the defense boost it works like an interrupt, but you cannot flip it to that side as he's attacking you.
Yep, per the rule book, which again is also available on the Kickstarter there. The combat order is the attacker uses attack boost, defender then has the option to use their defense boost, then finally you roll dice.
And then check results, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to the final level then.
Beep boop.
I love it so much. Okay, so we have invulnerable to pain, which, as you can see, the red skill is the only one that doesn't flip. So you pick that, you're dead and dead for life. So invulnerable to pain. When you get the skill, you already start with 3 power there. But every time Roboto is KO'd, you full it up. So anytime Roboto would suffer wounds, you may remove the power to prevent that many wounds for taking damage. And anytime he's KO'd, he just brings that up. So basically, he just has another set of like 3 health every time he's KO'd that gets back on. So he just has a lot more durability. And Robotic Heart, he cannot be dazed, which is a big thing already on its own. And as a bonus action, he can make a 1 attack or move action. And if he attacks, he gains +1 die, and if he moves, he gains +1 move. So it's basically, as we have this idea of getting bonus actions with Roboto, and he also has on top of that, like that action is buffed, and he cannot be dazed. So a really like straightforward character, which has what he does is really the real choice that you have. Like, since the other ones are very modular, you'll be able to choose for each situation what you want to do. This one is the real question where you're trying to see, okay, am I the guy that is going to win for my team if you're playing on the player side and try and get Robotic Heart to get bonus actions, or are you going to be the tank, which in that case you were one invulnerable to pain?
Yep, your choice here is going to come down to like, okay, do you want to have a skill or invulnerable pain? You know, that's taking one option away from having to allocate power to it. So you can, the precious power that you have can go to your other skills. Or do you want Robotic Heart, which is just really cool in the fact that it's just a straight bonus action of an attack or move, which that's a really powerful and fairly rare effect of just straight up getting those an option between there, much less having buffs.
And the passive bonus on its own, which not becoming dazed really helps because you'll be able to move. Like, you won't have to worry that much, and you won't have to spend power to get back up, which is an important factor to Roboto because he struggles with getting power if he uses robotic intelligence.
Well, let's look at his character when played by the controller.
Okay.
So how similar is that?
So yeah, so he still has the robotic intelligence part, but he also has the red skill, which he can make more actions. Since in the controller part we cannot have that many detail and depth as the player side, we try to get the most cool part that he had, which is not rolling dice, which he still has, but the way that he can use power on is limited. So even though he doesn't roll dice, all the options that he has to do with power, aside from that, is just being able to make more actions, which is really good if you're in the controller part, because you'll be able to get to whatever win condition you have, and you start that from the beginning, which is really good as well.
And this is also important to note that with the robotic body attack boost ability, the controller has an innate way, just in their controller skills, to boost all of their characters' attack dice built in. So that synergy still exists with Roboto here, as just playing as a controller. So you don't want to take him if you just want someone that's going to deal a straight amount of damage, much like you would on the player side.
If you want to rely on someone, that's Roboto, man.
Yep. Yeah. Take emotions out of the equation.
Yeah.
Well, our final card is probably going to be a bit scary because he seems like a very good character when it comes to staying alive. So how does that look for the AI when you're playing against the AI?
Well,
so as you can see against the AI, Leo, do you want to take this or shall I?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So against the AI here, you can see that it has its laser blaster attack, and the AI just automatically uses attack boost when it can. So when playing against Roboto, you're going to have to factor in that he's just going to start automatically hitting you. But then his skill, the skills are change the most between AI and the other, the controller and the players, because they're just a lot more devastating when it comes to the AI. So here you have Robotic Body, where Roboto is going to start healing himself, and then he's going to start making bonus attacks or bonus move actions. So you see it's so representative of his other abilities that he has, just basically made automated, but also boosted up because it is the players, the smart wonderful group of players versus the cruel and evil AI. But Roboto still remains the same. He is basically going to be like a non-copyrighted terminating style robot, searching and destroying whatever is nearby, and then rolling automatic successes. So, and this combined with some of the other options that the AI can throw out there, like some of the cards they have in the AI deck is like Reckless Onslaught, which is going to allow them to roll straight up 6 attack dice and gain all their attack boosts for free. That is a horrifying card to flip against when Roboto is there, because he is going to just go all Skynet on you and just blast you for 6 damage. So you better prepare for that. Yeah. The chances of that happening are, they're not common, but that's just one of those things that's going to happen in game where it's like, oh, Roboto got a little angry there, and robot anger is much, much more calculating and hard than human anger.
I think that's very fitting, right? If Roboto is a good AI character, well, who would he be?
That's true. Well, we have reached the middle of our live stream, so I guess we should move on to today's reveal.
Ooh.
Are you guys staying with me for that? Yes. Do you guys in the comments have any hint, any, how do you say that?
Questions?
No, not questions. Also questions. You can send your questions, but do you have any guesses? Let's see who gets this right. I don't know. You type your guesses in the questions while we wait for the review.
While we wait for some extra reveal comments there, I will call out one comment I just saw scrolling. We're on a small delay, by the way, so like all the comments are like a little like coming out beforehand, by the way, so that's why they're not real time. But I saw someone just say it looks like I've got a baked potato at the end of my arm. And I have to say, this is only the finest quality brand of tinfoil, okay? And unlike the normal Fisto hand, this actually has like articulation to it. So, who's laughing now?
He's Fisto 2.0, man.
Yeah. I'm the advanced classics line of Fisto with points of articulation and kung fu punch.
And more comfortable. Right?
With the ability to scratch your eye, which is important. Well, some people got it right, some people got it wrong. Let's review what we have for today. Wrath of Snake Mountain, our new expansion, which people have been requesting from the first day. What can you guys tell us about it?
It's got snakes, Helena. It's got snakes.
And a dinosaur, man. And
I guess it has a dinosaur as well. That is a Tyrannosaurus. So this is our second like full faction box for the game. First one being the Great Rebellion, She-Ra and all of her friends. And here we have King Hiss and all of his minions, including that gigantic Tyrannosaur miniature that we have. So this features the full cadre of Snake Mountain characters, which that might be a bit of a deep cut for people, because the ones who are only familiar with like the TV show and whatnot, these guys did not appear in, because the show got canceled before they made their appearance. But there definitely was a lot of cool toys made after these guys. And we'll go over all these in the full update that we'll post up on the Kickstarter, but we do have some of the characters to go over, just like we did last time with She-Ra. And I know that Leo and myself are excited about this one, because just before we get into like the characters, we can give a general like summary of some of the cool things in this expansion. Is aside from getting a whole new faction to play as with the Snakemen, they also bring a bunch of different mechanics to the game, in that they bring condition tokens representing some of the various poisons and effects they have, specifically poisoned, constricted, paralyzed, and then that expansion also features the Tyrannosaur, which is utilized in a few of the scenarios that appear in that box. Sometimes it's functioned like a mount, where you actually be fighting over it for control. You can actually wrangle it and like gain benefits for having it. And some of the other scenarios, it is just rampaging across the map, kind of acting as a neutral force that's just terrorizing things. So that one's a lot of fun to play as. But of course, the main focus of the expansion is the Snake Men as a faction, which I guess we can look into now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
King
first off,
Hiss.
we are starting with King Hiss. Yep, the supreme commander of the Snake Men. So the cool thing here is that he is kind of a mixture of previously what we've seen with Tila, He-Man, Skeletor, and to a little bit Beastman. So he does function off that poison mechanic, which poisoned is you can start getting poisoned, and while you have those tokens, you're going to start taking a small amount of like trickle damage as the game goes on. You're going to spend power to get rid of it. So another minion killing effect. But in addition to this, he also has Supreme Commander, so he can actually start summoning minions to the battlefield. So again, if you're one of those player characters that really likes minion control, King Hiss is a good option for you. And we're not going to get into his skills and everything, so we can always save that for later. But his penultimate skill is that he can transform into his Viper Lord form, where he just is the 5 snakes coming out of the waist. You saw the miniature there during the reveal. So you can build him out to be a minion controller, or focus on his poison aspect, which eventually leads up into just him being just rampaging. Just I've got 5 heads. In fact, he gains the 5-headed strike attack, 5 dice, causes poison. Super nasty little effect there to play as him.
Also, like we now have more conditions. Before we only have dazed, now we have poisoned, and that's a cool thing to play with. It's one of the things that I think when we're doing the design, it really helps to create more variables for skills, which I think we introduced it pretty well in the Snake Mountain.
Yep. And again, it's based around their poisons and those type of effects. So that was one of the design decisions, that we didn't want to have like a bunch of like condition tokens across effects, because most things, it just clutters. You have tokens across the board. It can run the risk of cluttering things up. So we were very careful when it came to applying these. They're all very timed. They all trigger, on character activation, they cause effects and then they go away. Much like in the core game, we only have the only condition effect you're going to have is dazed. Because everything else was easy to replicate in an attack boost, defense boost, reaction, or something like that. So that was one of the design decisions, was that we didn't want to have a bunch of things cluttering up the board. And we definitely kept that true with the conditions here in the Snake Men. While those exist, they're not something that's going to interrupt gameplay too much.
Yeah.
Let's look at another character, maybe. Snakeface.
And with that, we show the next condition. Like Snakeface, as you can see, he's one of the captains of the King Hiss army, and he has the Serpent Staff, which can hit everyone around him like 2 spaces away, which is a pretty good attack with AoE from the beginning of the game. And he has his characteristic skill, which is Petrifying Gaze, which he can petrify one enemy 2 space away from him, or all enemies within 2 space. Which petrified tokens really trigger the players. Yeah.
When you get petrified, you start losing attack dice on all your attacks. And just for a fun fact here, Snakeface is like the scariest Masters of the Universe character in existence. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Not just visually, but you have basically a walking Medusa that can just turn anything to stone. Yeah. And the only reason they beat him in the standard Medusa way, they showed him his reflection. But he is horrifying. He just makes things not dead, just turns them into rocks, because 80s can't kill anyone, just turn them into stone. But that's a scary level of power. And also he's got snakes coming out of everywhere.
Yeah, I thought that was what you meant when you said it was the scariest.
That also, well, let's go past that.
And moving on.
Okay. Oh, that's the good old Squeeze.
I personally hate this character because of the name. I'm sorry. Leo, I'll let you cover this one because I can't get over that.
And I make sure every time I say his name, I say Squeeze. Okay, but yeah. So Squeeze. since he attacks with his fists, he can do either a melee attack or a ranged because he can go really far with his arms because he can squeeze them. Okay, and his ability squeeze is that he's able to put constricted tokens, which is another condition, on enemies. So with his bonus ability, he can either put 2 tokens on one guy, or even one enemy within 4 spaces suffers 1 wound per constricted token on them. So he basically debuffs them and deals him damage. Constricted tokens restrict movement, and he this is kind of his flavor. We won't show his skills now, but he's a really cool guy with his arms. He can pull people to him or pull himself to people or terrain. He's a really cool character. Even though Michael hates him, he's really fun.
We chose to show these characters off, by the way, because they do show off the condition tokens. So don't think that, like, while the conditions are a important factor for the Snakemen, they're built around like specific characters. Like Snakeface deals a lot in paralyzed tokens. Squeeze deals a lot in constricted tokens. King Hiss is he's kind of versatile. In fact, I believe he still has one skill where he can just put one of each of the condition tokens on someone. Noting, by the way, some of the rules for the condition tokens is a character can have up to 2 of each type at any time. So you can have up to 2 poison tokens, sapping you for 2 HP anytime you activate, 2 constricted tokens, reducing your movement by 2, and that's nasty. Or petrified, which can reduce your attacks by 2. All of these are nasty. So there's no beneficial things like this. But just letting you know from a gameplay perspective there, you can't like stack 10 constricted tokens on someone to reduce their movement down to 0 or something. Yeah. And you can get rid of them, just they're a pretty big inconvenience. But that was one of the reasons we chose to showcase these 3 characters specifically, was to show you a little sampling of each of those tokens. And the last one I believe we have here is, yes, the Snake Trooper Minion. So you're getting another Minion type in this box as well. So just like with the Great Rebellion, getting the Bright Moon Archers, Minions can be swapped out as you see fit. So if you want to run, the Evil Warriors with a bunch of Snake Trooper Minions, and you can justify that in whatever crossover episode you want to do, then you can absolutely do that. And so the Snake Troopers here, just like all the other Minions, 1 health, 1 armor. Well, actually, I guess the Bright Moon Archers don't have armor, but point is, a relatively weak attack, but the ability to convert the Gray Skull results into they gain poison token. So these guys are basically out there to not cause the most damage directly, but to throw out those poison tokens and start creating that trickle damage.
Okay, I think that's the characters we have for today. But I brought an extra. I have exclusive new images from our painter, Enjo Geraldis. We were in a very tough discussion on how to pronounce his name. I think it's Angel, but I don't want to mispronounce it. So just look at all these snake men and their dinosaur.
I want to say one other thing, since I see this being brought up a couple times since we showed that, but the Snake Troopers do have the evil horde symbol on their chest. That is because that is exactly how the original line looked. That is specifically this is the symbol we have to have on the chest per licensing orders by Mattel, as we are keeping true to the original toy/concept lines. So guys, you want to read into that however much you want, but that's why that symbol's there. And there's a couple other characters where like the Horde and the Evil Warrior symbols, and technically there's no Snakeman symbol, do kind of get moved around a bit. Those are all because they're based on original concepts that exist from Mattel, and we are staying accurate to that.
True.
Well, for this final section, I think I should bring back Guilherme and Kenneth so we can take a look at the minis. So it was nice talking to you both. I'll see you all really soon.
We're being banished again.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm teleporting you out of
She
here.
hates us. Okay.
Hello, welcome back.
Oh, hi.
Hello, Kenneth. I see you're having fun.
No, nothing's happening.
I was going to keep quiet and let Kenneth play with the toys a little
Oh,
bit.
sorry, I didn't mean to shame you. By all means, go ahead.
Did he have to be snakes, Elena?
I guess. I mean, it's not my call. Apparently, it had to be snakes.
Sorry, back to what we're supposed to show Stigman, right?
And yes, Someone said, Cobra can confirm. Yes, confirmed. There you go.
Yep.
All right, who do you have there for us, Kenneth?
King His, we have Ratlaw, and we have Cobra Khan. K,
Yes.
Cobra Khan with K.
Absolutely. So these are just to show the resins that go with a oh, there you go. I mean, so this was a lot of fun to work with because of all the scales, right? We want to make sure that with reptilian-like characters, we wanted to portray them with this menacing, slithering presence that they have. Cobra Khan there being one that I like a lot, like the pose and the silhouette. Kind of very powerful and yet very much close to what the toy was. He has his laser pistol there. Could you please bring King Hiz's serpentine form as well, Kenneth? Maybe replace one of the two for a second.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah.
There you go. So people, for you out there who had the toy, the toy, like the torso from King Hiz, would open up in the middle, and then you would reveal his snake form there. We definitely wanted to have that as featured in the game as well. So we did go for the serpentine form as a separate figure for him, which is unlocked as one of his powers. So one of his, if I'm not mistaken, red level powers, you can opt to just take on his serpentine form. Michael can correct me if I'm wrong later, if it's yellow, green, or red. And we were very inspired for this one from a poster from the 80s. I'm trying to remember if this was William George or Earl Norem. I think this was Earl Norem, where you had He-Man facing off King Hiz on his serpentine form, and we wanted to go for that particular vision, just because of how cool the snake heads were, like how imposing, how large they are, a lot larger than the toy had. Like the toy had limitations to fit into the mold of the toy, so the snakes were in a particular way and shape to function as a toy. We went for a bit more savage, a bit more wild, sort of going again, fulfilling that imagery that the character brings through comics, through posters. It's one that we're very, very happy with as well. Yeah, cool, Kenneth, that you're rotating there, showing the angles and all the scaly detail texture that he has.
Yeah, he is very detailed, huh? Oh no, I was just marveling at how thick his neck is.
Yeah.
Which
Michael
one?
was saying Snake Face was the most terrifying character, but I have to say this is the stuff of nightmares as well.
Yep.
Right.
Let's see who else you got there from the. There you go, Tongue Lashor.
And
Squeeze. I love that mini.
Yeah, and then we have the minions, which I want to show together later. But let's just show one first. Yeah.
So Tongue Lasher, for those of you who had the toy, may remember he had a little hinge, I guess, on the back that would his tongue would stick out by doing that. So we wanted to make sure that we nailed that. He's very cool also that he's a ranged character. He came with a crossbow on the toy, so we wanted to give him sort of those two elements to play with. So the extending tongue, the crossbow, a very cool sort of ranged different character in the line for this expansion. And for a Squeeze, of course, we wanted to have the extra long arms, which is actually how he's standing on the ground for this figure. That's how we definitely wanted to make sure that, you know, all the mobility that he brings to the table and all the abilities to push and pull enemies and himself are very well perceived, very well seen, even, you know, at a glance on the table with these extra long arms, which is what he's using to move around. And with the little accessory wrapping around on his arms, which is something that the toy also had.
Yeah, that's a cool little detail right there.
Yep.
I had to say those minions, they look pretty tough.
They do. So this was a figure that was a concept during the original line, and they were not produced on the original line, but they were produced later down the line, which was something also that we were very happy with to discuss and arrange with Mattel, how to find interesting and cool minions for this expansion. From the get-go, what we wanted was to have the Snake Troopers. So we were able to tap into the concept art as well as some inspiration from the later lines, toy lines, to come up with this Minion troops. Just as other Minion troops, you get a total of 8 minions, so 4 of each scope that we can see there on the the screen. And yeah, just as Michael said, like all the detail, the horde symbol on the chest, the weapons, how I love how high the color comes. It kind of even takes part of the lower jaw in. So all of that is following the original concepts. Yeah, 4 and 4. Yeah, I saw someone asking for of each.
Yeah, for each of these guys.
And finally, I need to zoom out
Yes.
because we've got a big one. What should we use for scale? I guess He-Man can be used for scale.
Yeah.
And there he comes. Oh wait, he's too big. All right, there we go.
Good
So funny
lord.
story. My son has a dinosaur book, and I've been starting to call it Tyrantis. I keep saying it Tyrannosaurus. I want to call it Tyrannosaurus Rex, but I keep saying Tyrannosaurus Rex because I've been working with this guy for so long.
Yeah.
My son's going to grow up going Tyrannosaurus Rex for Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than a T-Rex with a laser cannon strapped on the shoulder, right? for
Yeah.
extra measure. Well, yeah,
Literally a T-Rex with lasers.
This was
Yeah.
a truly fun one to work with. We went back to the original toy, for starters. Of course, I love how we were able to bring even more, because on the toy he's very smooth, right? So if you see the silhouette, because the plastic, he's very smooth looking, but we wanted to push it a bit more for our figure, so you can see, I don't know if it's able to see, but even the profile, like it's all ridges and scales, like he's a very nice textured across his whole body. He has the robotic sort of attachments on his legs, the laser cannon. Wanted to make sure that like the pose was exactly a mixture of menacing, but not just a roaring into the sky sort of thing, which is kind of where we were first. We're going to, but a figure that you can really feel the action and the battle when you're playing with them on the map. Of course, the tail we curled a little bit so that it wouldn't get much in the way. This is the only figure so far, or that has that larger 50 mm base. So he's that big, and from a gameplay perspective as well. Just talking with the developers, just as Michael said, it's a figure that we want to utilizing more than one way. So there's a few scenarios where he's just rampaging through, just this force of nature destroying everything, and there's a few where you're trying to ally with Tyrannosaur for your faction, and then utilize him against enemies.
Yeah, that is a very cool figure. I think we have just a few minutes left, so I think I'll bring back Leo and Michael, and we can all take a few questions. I know you all probably have many of them before we wrap up for today. So, hello, welcome back.
Hey, I get stunned every time we show new miniatures. Really, it's good problem.
Yeah, you guys didn't show Snake Face. I see that in the
Oh,
comments.
Can we do that?
Skip to Snake Face?
Oh no, I know why we didn't show Snake Face.
Because we're
We don't
scared
have
of him.
Snake Face.
Isn't
we
that-
are scared of him.
Wait a minute, Snake Face has gotten loose.
We
no
have a
one
Snake
say.
Face on the loose.
No one say Snake Face. yet.
Look out! That's all
So,
I'm
how
saying.
many hexes does the Tyrannosaur take? Because
question.
he is huge.
He is. So he takes basically a triangle of axes. That makes sense. So one on top and two on the bottom. That's how. That's also a very early on process, part of the process that we're discussing all together. How to make sure that this extraordinary figure would move, would fit, and would be able to work on our hex-based system.
Yep. So it's like when you see the mounts, they occupy two spaces, and I believe we have talked about this in the last live stream. I don't know if we posted an update or whatnot, but basically when the mounts move, they have a starting space that every measurement is done from. So it's the same thing with the Tyrannosaur. He occupies three spaces, and basically whenever he's moved or anything is measured from him, he takes one space to be his primary measuring point from. Noting that also makes him really scary for like AoE attacks and whatnot, because he just hits everything around him. And fun enough, he does have ability to replicate his Dynadrone, which is that little chest opening and shooting out action. So yeah, you do have effects for that in game as well.
How does it work when large-based miniatures take two different terrains simultaneously?
So as Michael said, he chooses his primary uh, point of movement, and then he has to adjust based on that. So he'll be standing on top of something. But there's some restrictions to that. There's some terrains that he, for example, cannot. If it's not possible for him to be there, he won't be. He
Yeah,
just won't be. It will be addressed in this movement position. Like if he chooses that to be, he only can choose a hex to be his main point if he's able to do so.
unlike a lot of the other mounts that occupy two spaces that usually have restrictions, like they have to be fully in or outside of a terrain piece, the Tyrannosaur, because he is so big, straight up can't be in some terrain pieces, and that's a gameplay aspect. Like ruins, you can actually hide from him in ruins in some scenarios. So like, you can have Orko gallantly, run inside a ruin and just have the Tyrannosaur just stop at the doorway there, and just start now having to skulk around the exits there trying to get them.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's again a fun one, is when you have the Tyrannosaur just rampage scenario that you're playing. That one's just again a lot of fun because it's just a problem for everyone, and I'm a big fan of those type of gameplay elements where, let's make this everyone's problem.
Does he count as a mount?
He will be dictated based on the scenario. So
yeah, we do have some scenarios where you can actually mount him up and take control of him, and it almost becomes like a mobile kind of king of the hill.
See, we are over an hour already. We have to wrap up. Let's see if I can pick a final question. Oh, let's see. That may be more of a production question, but let's get it. Will the different factions each be different colors from the original two?
No. So basically there's a Pantone color for heroes, a Pantone color for villains. There's a third for neutrals. So the three terrain, the mounts, those are like a neutral color. And we're doing that because one of the ways to play the game is that you can play heroes versus villains, where you can afford to mix up as many heroes on one side and as many villains on the other side. So we wanted to keep it very consistent, where we're showing the two opposing sides, good guys and bad guys. But as also we mentioned before, there is a free-for-all mode on the game as well. So if you want to just mix up as much as you want, you can also do that.
I still want to see that controller team up of King, Hiss, He-Man, and Skeletor, and figure out a way for it. But it's still cool. Just all the Transformers. I guess if you want to do the player characters, you can throw in She-Ra on that side, and then just have everyone like at the very end mount up. And I was about to say mount up and roll out, but no, we're talking different franchises there. But just to jump in one question here, I see Rodrigo. Are we getting poison markers? All the condition tokens, poisoned, constricted, and paralyzed for the expansion have tokens for them, because you can have multiples of them for your character. As we discussed earlier in the live stream, you can have up to 2 each of those tokens with stacking effects.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the time we had for today. Sorry. Thank you so much for joining me. Do you have any final words from each of you? Let's go to Guilherme first.
I'm super excited to finally be able to show this faction. It's like I said, something that we've been working for a long time, and something people have been requesting for a long time. I want to see what you guys think. We will soon after the live release the update. You'll be able to see in detail all the renders, and we'll add the item on the system as well shortly after the live.
Well, Kenneth, any final words before you hop off to sleep? Because it's really, really late.
I don't think I can sleep tonight. Snake Face is missing from my batch, so I'm better. What he is.
Watch out for snakes, man.
I mean, rip Kenneth. I'm so sorry.
Jesus, this escalated quickly, man.
There is a snake face on the loose, and it was nice knowing you well.
Our next live stream just opens with In Memoriam, arms of an angel playing with Kenneth's picture.
Okay, it's getting very dark, guys.
Well, Leo, final words from you?
Thanks for everybody who watched this. I hope you guys are enjoying as much as we are the Kickstarter. We are really excited about this, and behold, the next stream will be very good. We'll exceed ourselves.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now you hyped the expectations, okay? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, who knows. Big mistake.
Okay, Michael.
I guess the only other thing to mention is, of course, everyone, thanks for showing up here. And then also, we'll be in the comments section for the next little bit of the time when the update goes up to answer any questions or anything like that people have in relation to the expansion, gameplay related, and all stuff like that. So look for us there. We'll continue the conversation there.
So I guess we'll see you all soon. Thank you for joining me, and see you next week. Bye.
See ya.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.